Hi everyone, Emily is happy to see you on air again. Welcome to Difference Frames the World, a channel that offers you a unique perspective. Please subscribe to the channel so you will not miss our daily uploads. Today, we talk about the robbery in Paris that stunned the world on October 19th, 2025, when the Louvre Museum in Paris became the target. Several masked thieves exploited a construction zone using a freight elevator to enter the Apollo Gallery. In just 7 minutes, they smashed a display case and stole 9 pieces of historic jewelry from the Napoleonic-era. The robbers, who may have hidden inside the museum afterward, created chaos by triggering an alarm hours later, using the ensuing panic and crowds as a cover for their escape on waiting motorcycles. While some jewels were recovered, the brazen theft exposed critical security vulnerabilities at the world's most famous museum. The incident has raised global concerns about the protection of cultural heritage against highly organized and professional criminal groups. Here comes a question. Have you ever dreamed of visiting the Louvre? Close your eyes for a second. What do you see? I bet most of you picture the glass pyramid, the smiling Mona Lisa, and those grand, endless hallways filled with masterpieces. Many people who have been in Paris before may tell you the city is dirty, or even filthy, but no one denies the grandeur and beauty of the Louvre Museum, which feels like a fortress of art. In this place, history is safe and protected forever, right? Well, what if I told you that just a few hours ago that fortress was breached, not in a movie, but in real life, in broad daylight, and the whole thing took only 7 minutes? The story I want to share with you today is like something out of a Hollywood thriller. Just imagine, it's the morning of October 19th, 2025, in Paris, the capital of France. The city is just waking up. Tourists are already lining up under the famous glass pyramid, waiting to get a glimpse of the Mona Lisa and the Venus de Milo. But on the side of the museum, along the Seine River, there's a construction zone. It's a part of the museum that's being worked on, covered in scaffolding and temporary fences. At 6:42 a.m., before the museum is even fully open, something happens. 3, maybe 4 masked figures slip through a hole in the construction fencing. They're dressed like workers, wearing those bright yellow safety vests. They look like they belong. They find a freight elevator, the kind used to move equipment and supplies, and they use it to go straight up, directly into the heart of one of the Louvre's most glorious rooms, the Apollo Gallery. This gallery is stunning. It's dripping with gold and houses the French crown jewels. And in that gallery is a special collection dedicated to a man who defined an era, Napoleon Bonaparte. Now let us answer 2 questions. Who was Napoleon, and what is the Louvre? First, Napoleon Bonaparte. Imagine a man from a relatively humble background on the island of Corsica, who, through sheer military genius and ambition, crowns himself Emperor of France in the early 1800s. He wanted to build a new Roman Empire. He was a man who made the French people proud of being a part of the great country, and this short man's glory outshone the long-lasting humiliation from the Nazis and the Iron Chancellor of the German Empire. For him, art and jewels weren't just beautiful, they were symbols of power. He collected them, sometimes by conquering other nations, to show the world the glory of France. The jewels targeted in this heist were from his era, and some even belonged to him and his empress. These aren't just pretty stones, they are pieces of history, symbols of a turbulent and powerful time. And the Louvre itself, it wasn't always a museum. It started as a medieval fortress, then became a palace for French kings. After the French Revolution, it was turned into a public museum, a museum for the people. So its very identity is built on the idea of protecting and showcasing the nation's treasures. It's a symbol of French culture and history, attracting nearly 10 million visitors from around the world every year. So these thieves didn't just break into any museum, they broke into the soul of France. Back to the Apollo Gallery. The masked figures know exactly where they are going. They head straight for a display case holding jewels from Napoleon's time. In a frantic, lightning-fast few moments, they grab 9 priceless pieces of history, A diamond-encrusted crown, necklaces, brooches, and some other pieces that once adorned Napoleon and his family. They sweep them into bags. The whole operation took about 7 minutes, around 400 seconds. That's less time than it takes to brew a pot of coffee. Then they're gone. They run back the way they came, jump on waiting electric motorcycles parked in a back alley, and disappear into the morning traffic of Paris, heading for the highway. They vanish without a trace. Now, here's where the story gets even funnier. The official police report says this all happened early, around opening time between 7 and 8:30 in the morning. But listen to this. Some Chinese tourists inside the museum reported a very different timeline. They were in the middle of their visit, queuing to see the Mona Lisa, when suddenly, around 10:15 a.m., alarms went off. Security guards started shouting through megaphones, "Get down! Stay where you are!" Visitors were herded onto the grand staircases, confused and scared. So what's the truth? Did the robbery happen at 7 a.m. or 10:15 a.m.? This discrepancy reveals a terrifying possibility. Security experts think the thieves might have pulled off a two-part operation. First, they broke in early, stole the jewels, and then they hid inside the massive museum waiting. Then hours later, during the peak visitor hours, they triggered a separate alarm intentionally to create chaos and used the panicking crowd as a cover for their final escape. It was a perfectly planned misdirection. While security rushed to protect the Mona Lisa and the most crowded areas, the thieves slipped out through a side exit. So, what was the result of this audacious crime? Well, thankfully, it wasn't a total loss. As the thieves were escaping, one of the most precious items, a crown that belonged to Empress Eugénie, the wife of Napoleon III, was dropped and later recovered. The famous Regent diamond, a 140-carat masterpiece, was also left untouched. The total value of the robbery is still being calculated, but the historical value lost is immeasurable. The French president, Emmanuel Macron, is receiving real-time updates. The interior minister openly admitted that this robbery exposed a major security vulnerability in France's museum system. And he was right. Let's break down what went wrong. First, the construction zone. The thieves used the museum's own renovation work against it. Construction areas are often the weakest link in any security chain. Second, the freight elevator. They used an internal service elevator that took them directly to their target, bypassing the main public areas. Third, the ordinary display case. The jewels, despite being incredibly valuable, were in a standard glass case, not a high-security bulletproof vault like the one protecting the Mona Lisa. Fourth, the delayed response. The confusion over the timing shows a critical failure in the security response protocol. Still, a funny thing is that the cameras monitoring the Apollo gallery did not do their job as they were offline, because the gallery was updating its climate control system. We must admit it isn't just a problem for the Louvre. In recent months, there have been several high-profile thefts from museums across France. Criminals are becoming more sophisticated, treating these heists like military operations. They do their homework, they find the one tiny crack in the system, and they strike with precision. This robbery is about more than just stolen jewels. It's a powerful metaphor for the challenges of protecting our shared cultural heritage in the modern world. We think of museums as impenetrable fortresses, but they are living, breathing institutions. They have to balance being open and accessible to the public with being secure fortresses. They have to renovate, they have to host millions of people, and they have to do it all while keeping our history safe. The Louvre heist is a stark reminder that security can't be static. It has to be dynamic, intelligent, and always one step ahead. It's not just about having 3,000 cameras. It's about making sure there are no blind spots. It's about protecting the entire system, not just the most famous painting. The director of the Louvre said after the heist, "We lost not just jewelry, but a fragment of our historical memory. So, the next time you walk through a museum, admiring a 1,000-year-old vase or a painting by a master, remember, its survival is not an accident. It's the result of constant, silent vigilance. The 7-minute heist at the Louvre was a shock, but let's hope it becomes the wake-up call that strengthens the protection of our past, all around the world. Because what's at stake isn't just property, it's our collective memory, it's our history, and once it's gone, it can be lost forever. All museums in the world can learn from the Canadian government, which has erected hundreds of thousands of speed traps to empty their drivers' pockets. I am Emily, looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow at Difference Frames the World. Please subscribe and turn on the notifications bell so you will not get lost when coming back.